Hey there everybody, my name is Josh Wiseman. I'm a zookeeper here at the Nashville Zoo, and I'm going to be talking to you today about a really amazing group of animals. Now, that group of animals falls into the family of fish. Now, fish are an amazing part of the world's biodiversity, and they come in all kinds of different shapes, sizes, and colors, as you can see from all of our fish that we have here in one of our aquarium tanks at the zoo. Now, while the animals I'm talking about today are fish, they are a little more well-known, but still display that difference in size, shape, even going as far as what they eat, where they live, and how they move around the globe. Now, of course, we're going to be talking about sharks. Now, sharks are an amazing species of fish because they are related to these guys behind me, but they're different in one major way. Sharks are considered to be cartilaginous fish. That's a really hard word to say. Cartilaginous fish, which means that their skeleton is made up entirely of cartilage instead of being made up of bone, like the fish behind me. Now, more specifically, we're going to be talking about 3 different species of sharks. The great white shark, which of course everybody has probably seen or heard of at one point in your lives. The largest shark in the ocean, the whale shark, and then the smallest shark in the ocean, the dwarf lantern shark. Now, while each of these 3 sharks are unique, they are still related and do fall under that family of cartilaginous fish. Now, sharks are also very closely related to things like skates and rays, because those are also fish that don't have bones as part of their skeleton, but actually are made up entirely of cartilage. Now, there are a lot of misconceptions about sharks, especially through media that we see every day. You will assume that every shark out there is a man-eater, is really vicious and mean, and is just out to get anything it can get its hands on. But sharks fill a lot of different niches or compartments within ecosystems around the world. Yeah, we do have our really big sharks, our big carnivores, things like our great whites who are out there hunting other animals, you know, your dolphins, your sea lions, other large species of fish. But we also have really small species of sharks that hunt maybe only smaller species of fish, or even things like crustaceans, shrimp, and even microscopic plankton. Now, to get into talking about our 3 individual species, we're going to start with the great white. Great white sharks are easily the most identifiable and recognizable species of shark probably anywhere in the world. Now, they're really cool because they're found throughout most coastal waters on every continent in the world, except for Antarctica, because of course it just gets too cold there. You can find them in North America. You can find them in South America. There are large populations in Asia, Africa, and Australia. Now, over recent years, a lot of research has been done to study great white sharks and to kind of blow the top off of the myth that they are just this vicious, mindless animal that only eats, or that just eats everything it can find. A lot of research has shown that these sharks actually travel great distances throughout the year. Some studies have shown that individual sharks might travel upwards of 20,000 kilometers in a 9-month period just looking for food and other sharks to be around, which is absolutely fascinating. That's so far for one individual to travel all by itself. Now, these sharks also have some really incredible adaptations that make them such great hunters. They can easily reach lengths of 15 to 20 feet, and they also have a mouthful of very sharp, road teeth that regrow every time the shark loses a tooth, possibly by attacking another animal or feeding on a carcass of maybe a whale that they find out in the ocean. Now, those teeth make them the killing machine that they are, but they also have other things like what we call counter shading. So if you ever look at a picture of a great white shark, you might notice that the top half of their body is a very darkish gray to black color. And that's because if you were to look at them from above the water, like you're looking down at the shark, that's going to allow them to blend in. That dark coloration is going to hide them when you're looking down into deep water. And then the other half of their body, the bottom half, is usually a lighter color, like a white. That way, any animal that's looking up at them from below is just going to see kind of a white light from the sun, and it's probably going to hide that shark's outline. That allows them to be able to sneak up on their prey. Some great whites attack their prey from above. Some actually attack their prey from below. We've found that it depends on the area the shark is hunting and actually what species of animal they're hunting as well. Some sharks along the coast of South Africa, for example, travel around the world, come back to South Africa every year because there's a very large population of sea lions that congregate there to have their pups. So these sharks actually travel back to this area the same time every year because there's a very ready amount of food for them to hunt. Now, these sharks show a behavior that has actually not been seen in great white sharks anywhere else in the world. They do what's called breaching. So they actually go really, really down deep in the water, and they're going to be looking for outlines of sea lions up at the water's surface. And so what the shark will then do is they actually shoot up lightning fast. They hit that sea lion from the bottom, and they've actually been shown to completely breach their entire bodies from the water, which is incredible. If you think of a 20-foot shark that can easily be 1,200 pounds, shooting itself out of the water using only its own propulsion, that's absolutely amazing. Now, great whites, of course, like I said, do get that really bad reputation of being vicious, of being man-eaters. A lot of that comes because they are a very large species of shark, and there have been attacks on humans by great white sharks around the world. That also comes a little bit from media misconception. Most people these days have probably heard or seen the movie Jaws, which portrays these great white sharks as just being mindless. They're just eating whatever they can find, in that case, specifically humans. But great white sharks are actually very intelligent. And really, around the world, there are on average maybe only 82 cases of shark attacks, incidental shark attacks, annually. And that includes every species of shark, not just great whites. So for the most part, when great whites are attacking humans, it's really not them targeting people as something that they want to eat. Oftentimes, it's a case of misidentification. You know, if you've got a surfer on a surfboard that's kind of swimming at the top of the water, his outline is going to look very similar to something like a sea lion. And so it's very easy for the sharks to accidentally assume, well, it kind of looks like a sea lion, I might as well give it a try. And they're going to very quickly realize that that animal is not a sea lion, it's in fact a person. Now, like I said, great white sharks, while they are incredible and easily the most well-known, they're actually not the largest shark that we have out in the ocean. That title falls to the whale shark. Now, what's fascinating about whale sharks is not only are they the largest species of shark, they're actually the largest fish in the entire world. Now, talking about great whites and the vicious predators that they are, kind of makes you wonder, what is a shark that gets bigger than that like to eat? You know, if it's not eating sea lions, if it's not eating dolphins, you know, do they go after things that are bigger like whales? Well, in fact, whale sharks are completely filter-feeding fish. They don't actually hunt and prey upon other animals. They actually use specialized gills to filter feed and eat small crustaceans, krill, and plankton from the water, which is absolutely incredible to me that these huge, enormous fish can survive on some of the tiniest little organisms that are found in our oceans around the world. Now, one whale shark, whale sharks can actually grow to be upwards of 46 feet long, which is as long as like a school bus, if you can imagine that. And like I said, they're also found around the world. Now, they're another shark that while they are really big, we actually don't know a whole lot about them. They're very secretive sharks, and there's still a lot of research going in to kind of study their day-to-day lives and where they're found. Now, along with what we talked about with great white sharks, those whale sharks do have really incredible adaptations that allow them to survive in a lot of different habitats. So like I said, number one, they're filter feeders. They're able to suck in large amounts of water through their huge mouth, and they're going to blow that against their gills. They've got specialized gills that actually filter out all the little particles that are in the water. They're going to actually take all that water back out of their gill slits so it's not in their body, and they're going to actually swallow down and ingest all of those microscopic little things that they're trying to eat, which is really, really cool. So the last species of shark that we're going to talk about is actually on the opposite end of the whale shark. It's the smallest shark in the world. It's called the dwarf lantern shark. Now, we don't know a lot about these sharks because they've only actually been spotted in the wild a handful of times. We do know that one of their max size for the shark is about 6 inches, which is maybe roughly the size of the human hand. Tiny, tiny little guys. The only other things that we really know is that they do tend to be a deep water shark. They have specialized organs on their body that produce light, and they actually have huge eyes that allow them to take in light from their external sources so that they can be able to see in the depths of the ocean where light really doesn't have the ability to penetrate. Now, while sharks are probably easily one of the most recognizable species of fish that we have in the world, as I've mentioned already, there's still so much out there that we don't know about them. And current research is very important. So talking about all of these sharks, there are some really cool studies that are going on that researchers are doing to kind of learn more about the habits of what these sharks do outside of their time around populated areas where people are. So, the great whites and your whale sharks are called pelagic sharks, which means they do tend to spend a lot of time in shallower waters when they're looking for food, but they also traverse the deepest parts of the ocean all by themselves as they travel around the globe. Now, some studies actually use what we call telemetry or radio tagging, where scientists will actually insert a radio tag, almost like a GPS tag, into a shark's skin. That shark will then carry that tag around with it, and it sends signals back to those researchers to tell them about the shark's movements. That way we can have a better idea of, if a shark is tagged in Australia and is later found in Africa, where it actually went on its path to get to that different location. Another really cool way that scientists are studying sharks is actually research I've had the special privilege to do myself in the wild. The program that I participated in, we actually studied the individual spot patterns of whale sharks down in the Sea of Cortez, which is right off the coast of Mexico. So each individual shark has its own unique spot pattern that is different from every other shark in the ocean. It's almost like its fingerprint, right? And so what we do, we actually have been taking pictures of those spot patterns. We can upload them to a database online, and that compares that spot pattern to other pictures of sharks that have been uploaded around the world to tell us if we've identified a new shark, or maybe this was a shark that was seen last 3 years ago in Australia. It's really, really fascinating. Now, of course, there are tons of more studies that need to be done, especially with those lesser-known sharks, like I mentioned, the dwarf lantern shark. But we're really excited because sharks are just such an amazing group of animals, but they definitely need our help, and they're definitely a species that we like to educate people about. And we would love to answer any questions that you might have. But other than that, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. Hope I taught you a little bit about sharks. Hope you'd maybe go home and do a little bit of research on your own. And we look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Thank you all so much.